Hey everybody, this is the Circular Economist back here with another video. A disclaimer in the beginning. As always, this video is for education purposes only and not to be seen as anything else. I am a circular industrial economist specialized in environmental education, circular economy, sustainability, and complex economic system theory. And in today's video, I wanted to talk with you about the third principle of the circular economy. We've talked about the elimination of waste and pollution as a first principle, circulating products and materials at their highest value and at their highest purity. And in the third video, I wanted to give you a brief insight or an overview or an introduction into the third principle, the regeneration of nature. So, of course, regeneration of nature is a very big topic and very complex topic, but bear with me, I'm trying to give you the most important things and break it down to give you an understanding how we're going to achieve the regeneration of nature. Okay, so let me first state this. We are not going to regenerate nature. Nature does that by itself. Okay, so that's a very important thing to state right at the beginning. Nature regenerates itself. Okay, we as humans do not regenerate nature, but we can ban everything that hinders nature to regenerate itself, and we can play our part to give back to nature, to improve soil quality, so we can help nature. Now, what do I mean by the regeneration of nature? So, the third principle, by moving from a take, make, waste linear economy to a circular economy, we support natural processes and leave more room for nature to thrive. So, we want nature to thrive again, from extraction to regeneration. We have to shift from a extractive economy to a regenerative economy. And the circular economy as a system solution framework is by definition regenerative. Instead of continuously degrading nature, we build natural capital. So, for example, we employ farming practices that allow nature to rebuild soils and increase biodiversity. The increase in biodiversity in itself is a very complex topic, but actually not that complex as you might think. And return biological materials to Earth. So, for example, composting, which improves soil quality. Okay. Currently, most of these materials are lost after use, and the land used to grow them is depleted of nutrients. So, soil quality overall on the globe is degrading, is decreasing, and we want to build up nutrients in the soil again, and we have to use a regenerative model for that. So I'm going to come back to extractive practices and what they have to do with non-regeneration of soil, for example. But bear with me here. So if we move to a regenerative model, we begin to emulate natural systems. So one part of the circular economy is we want to mimic nature's feedback loops. We want to emulate natural systems. We want to again look at nature, use the principles of nature, and learn from nature to really have prosperity and a good life for all within planetary boundaries. So I think Gandhi was that who said nature has enough for everyone's needs, but not for everyone's greed. So that is really important here. There is no waste in nature. Nature does not produce waste. It's not in nature that waste is necessary. So nature has almost perfect feedback loops Nature is the perfect circular economy where everything is reintegrated into the system. For example, when a leaf falls from a tree, it feeds the forest. For billions of years, natural systems have regenerated themselves. Waste is a human invention. The example of a tree, or the example of forests, is very important because we could actually have an economic system that could mimic the economics of a forest. We could have an economic system through industrial symbiosis where every product and every material, the output of a process, is input for something else. We've stated this already, but this is really the big picture, and I think way too complex for this state right now where we are in, because I want to build up knowledge, and this is actually the end goal where we completely eliminate waste and mimic nature or the economics of a system, for example, a forest. This is called bionomics, and I think it is a way to go for the 21st century. So a leaf falls from the tree and it feeds the forest. So every nutrient and all the nutrients that are inherent in a leaf are getting reintegrated into the soil. Okay? And as stated, natural systems have always regenerated themselves. So we humans, now because we have an extractive economic global system, we're hindering the regeneration processes of nature. So nature regenerates itself, natural systems regenerate themselves, and we have to reduce everything that hinders this regeneration. Okay? Waste is a human invention, as stated here. There is no waste in nature. Now, having said that, how are we going to do this? So here you can see more space for nature. In addition to the food system, there are other benefits for natural ecosystems by adopting a circular economy. So there are a lot of benefits for adopting circular processes into the economy. For example, by keeping products and materials in use, as stated in the last video, by keeping products and materials in use, less land is required for sourcing raw materials. Example given from mines. If we gradually decouple economic activity from material extraction, by keeping materials in circulation after use, more and more land can be returned to nature and rewilding can happen. Now, what does that mean? This is a really important subject, and I wanted to go back to explain to you what this means and how this process looks in a graphic. Okay, so by keeping materials in use, okay, if we design products in a way that we can keep them in use, so materials are flowing through this circular economy, okay, technical materials and also biological materials, okay. Less land is required for sourcing virgin raw materials. So in the linear economy, the amount of raw materials that go into the system is, of course, dependent on their extraction. So now, because we have an extractive economy today, we are using a lot of materials, we extract materials, and those materials are going into the system. Now, by keeping products and materials in use, in theory, we could actually substitute those primary raw materials that are going into the system by having secondary raw materials that go into the system. So we want to substitute primary raw materials for secondary raw materials, thereby decreasing the amount necessary of primary raw materials, so that actually goes out. So the amount of raw materials that are coming into the system, the primary raw materials, are decreased, which in turn would lead to a decrease in extraction of those primary raw materials. Now, we know that the extraction of primary raw materials is, for example, responsible for about 90% of biodiversity loss. So by decreasing the extraction, we can regenerate soils, animal habitat, and thereby increase the amount or increase biodiversity as a whole. I hope this is understandable, but I wanted to give you a very, very important point here, that our extractive systems, the extraction of primary raw materials, is really the important part here. The extraction is responsible for about 90% of biodiversity loss and about 90% of global water stress, and responsible for about half of all greenhouse gas emissions worldwide. Okay? So this is the case, and this is the reason why our extractive economic system worldwide does not work anymore. That's why it is not sustainable. Okay? So by keeping materials in use, or first of all, designing circular materials, circular products, keeping them in use as long as possible, sending them in loops, technical and biological loops, we can actually decrease the amount necessary of things that we pull out of the ground. Okay? Now, this is meant with the decoupling of economic activity from material extraction. Okay? So we want to decouple economic activity, which is inside here, from resource extraction. I hope this is clear to everyone. It's a little bit more complex because there are three different parts of this subject, how we actually want to regenerate, for example, biodiversity and regenerate nature. But the important part is we regenerate nature by stopping destroying nature. It's as easy as that, okay? And we destroy nature by extracting a lot of materials. So we want to keep products and materials in use, use waste as a resource, using secondary raw materials. Thereby, the process of regeneration is kickstarted. Okay, so I want to leave you with that because you have to really think about this and why this is important. And I hope I have stated it as clearly as possible and as easy and as understandable as possible. If you have questions, just write me an email. I'm going to put my email address in the description below. If you have questions, write me an email. You can also visit my homepage. There you have other information about the circular economy. You can also book a training for your company where we discuss in 3 different trainings how the design of products is important, and also how you can use circular strategies to reduce your material dependency, increase your material efficiency, and decrease your greenhouse gas emissions. So with that said, have a nice weekend, everyone, and we will see each other in the next video.